to Lounge with Travify Academy, where we get to hear from travel industry voices and experts to learn more about their story and what they see on the horizon for travel professionals. I'm Stephanie Grice, and today we have something a little different for you. We're turning one of our latest webinar sessions into a podcast for you to listen and hopefully learn from and get really excited to be part of the travel industry right now. In this podcast episode, you're going to hear from amazing industry veterans, including Mike Foster, who's president at Nexion Canada, Robin Sanchez, who is president of Your Travel Center and Montecito Village Travel, and John Werner, who's president and COO at MAST Travel Network. This webinar was hosted live on July 20th, 2022 during Travify's virtual event called New Agent Bootcamp. This was a really fun panel discussion to talk about what these industry experts have been learning and what they see can make a successful travel agent. So enjoy. So for our first question, okay, so as either a host agency or consortia executive, because we have both of those on here today, you all get to hear and see what many advisors are doing. And what would you say is the most common trait that you see in a successful advisor? And John, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Stephanie. And I think that a successful trait is just being personable and welcoming to clients and having a service mentality, that you're ready to help them. I think it gives you more confidence as a travel advisor, travel professional. And I think your clients then will see that in you. They'll trust you more. They will respect you more. So you just exude confidence when you are outgoing in a way and, very personable and communicative to your customers.
That's awesome. That's makes so much sense. And Robin, what do you see in successful advisors?
Yeah, so, we always talk about them having a niche, if you're a cruise specialist or a Europe specialist, which is fantastic because it's a big world and having to know it all could be overwhelming. But we see our really successful advisors also being full service. So offering, the vacation, the air to get there, the insurance to cover them from door to door, know the resources that you have available through your host agency or your consortia and use them and use each other. We have a great network of advisors that lean on each other when they need to know certain products and need assistance. So yeah, be full service and don't be afraid to ask questions and reach out to those staff around you that can help.
Awesome. Perfect. And Mike, how about you? What do you see at Nexion Canada?
Yeah, certainly great input already from my colleagues. I'd add a few things as well. I think that really the traits have changed. I've been doing this for 44 years now. And I think that the traits have really changed over the years. And I think they're much better now because people can focus on things that I think they get more enjoyment of. So I just jotted down a few things. One, I think that people need to be creative. You need to find creative ways to find solutions today more than ever before. I think you need to have some good research skills. I think you need to be able to kind of think on your feet and do some research to find solutions to problems and challenges and questions you may not have ever received before. We sometimes have to be crisis managers today. So sometimes you need to be able to deal with the unexpected in an unexpected crisis. I think grit is another trait that I think really successful people have. And by that, I mean, you have passion, kind of building on what John talked a little bit about, and you also have perseverance. You don't just give up. And I think also you need to have willingness to learn. You need to be willing to fail. You need to try things sometimes. I think also you need to be accessible. You need to be somebody who's going to have easy contact to your clients. You need to have timely responses. I think building on something John said as well earlier. And I think really you need to be able to articulate expectations more clearly than ever before. It used to be we were order takers. Now we act as consultants more than ever before. And I think it's really important that we articulate what we can do to help people. We manage expectations and we deliver to them. So just thought I'd build on some of the things that others had said already.
Yeah, I love that. And I love grit. It's that entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah.
Grit. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
I love that. And And so going off that too, so the next question would be is what would you recommend are the areas that a new travel agent should focus on and will set them up for success in the long run? So Mike, I know in previous chats you had mentioned, like niche and planning and marketing and so many things, but also when it whittles down, what are those most important things to focus on?
Well, actually, Robin said it earlier. She talked about niche, and I think that's critical to success. I think you need to find your niche. You need to be able to focus on your niche. You need to be able to train on your niche, network on your niche. Robin talked about networking with other consultants. I think that's also really important, particularly people who are in your niche, whether it's a consultant or a supplier. But I think really having a focus for your business is key, and everything will come from that, whether it's your marketing, whether it's your training, your own travel preferences. You should be traveling to do the things that you're trying to sell as well. So I think if you have a good focus for your niche, everything can build from that. And certainly marketing is a big part of it today too. You need to have a brand, and I think you need to market yourself and your niche and your abilities to help people. But to me, it all comes from niche.
Yeah. And Robin, I was actually going to go to you next as well. And yeah, the niche, that was a perfect setup there is how can one find that niche too? Like, what are the first steps you take to figure that out?
Your passion. What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy doing? What can you relate to your clients? From your experiences, you know what you know, you need to share that with them. And, one thing I want to say, I was on a webinar actually this morning with another, I'm part of Allies, which is, a newer, whatever we're calling ourselves. But they were talking about setting up your business and using Teak or somebody to put your processes in place. As a new business owner, I think, it's really easy to jump in to start selling travel, but I think you really need to stop and be sure you're set up correctly. Make sure that you or your host agency is licensed and you're in the right states with that life to the people you're selling to. Make sure you have a brand. Mike talked a little bit about branding yourself. Setting your business up because you are business owners and, presenting yourself as a business, but taking the time to do that, to working with your host agency, your consortium, an attorney, making sure that you have processes in place to, really have your business set up as a business owner. And then be passionate, like I said. Sell what you like to do, what you like, the experiences that you like, and share those with your clients. And marketing, Mike talked a little bit about marketing. I have a marketing 101. Your clients are somebody else's prospects. And let me tell you, you spend a lot more time with your prospects. So keep in touch with them. Let people know that, when you're in the grocery store, when you're doing your hair, what you're doing, have a card available, whether it's a QR, business card now, because that's what we're doing. Tell people what you're doing, be excited and share with them and, be accessible when they do call you.
Yeah, that's so important. And John, anything else to add to those?
Well, as Robin said about your passion, following your passion, and a lot of travel advisors, if they have a particular hobby, a sport that they are involved in, they will try to build their business around that, and they could be their own Pied Piper for a group that they would lead, maybe. And if they belong to, we'll just say, a ski club or a bike club, that's a very excellent way to build your business when you also have a hobby and you can get others then to come along with you. So, and I think, continuing education is also goes along with that. You really have to, I know as you get busier and busier, it becomes more difficult to find the time to always do that, but it's just so critical. And in this environment, it is more important than ever. So, education and following your passion, your dreams, your own, hobby.
Yeah. Education is so important. So all of you who are on here right now, You're doing it. You're getting educated. It's great. You're taking those steps. You want to learn more. And so that is really cool. That's so many great things in there. And niche, I bet we're going to talk about in a little bit too, more, because that's a big thing that, we've been seeing in the past couple of years too, that people who already were in the industry kind of pivoting and changing and really defining what that is that they want to focus on. So that's awesome. So one thing I also want to talk about is, we've talked about what a new travel advisor can focus on, but what about some quick wins? So and again, if this is either you're starting a business brand new or you already have a business and you're just trying to see how you can level it up. So what are some of those quick wins? So Robin, I'm going to start with you here. What would you say are some quick wins that, either new or current advisors can do or think of?
Yeah, so I think I touched on it a little bit, with the marketing yourself, and marketing yourself isn't just sending, brochures or, things through the mail or email. It's out there. Do what you like to do and talk about what you're doing, right? And really, I think that's it. And find a mentor. I mean, I think some of our, we've had people that have come in with business plans from other industries, and they've worked and marketed to, people that they know, and using a mentor, bouncing ideas off. Like I said earlier, we have a network of agents that, use our Facebook and go back and forth. And, the questions that they're asking each other, the disappointments that they're sharing, the wins that they're sharing. I think you need to, especially with everybody working, from home or from small offices now, it's really nice to have a network and put yourself around, so you can be celebrated when you do something good. We all, the saying, fake it until you make it, it's a real thing. You want to present yourself, as knowledgeable, but, you can't know everything. So having that network or a mentor, especially the first couple of years in, I think you will come away with a bigger win, after your first 12 or 18 months in the business.
Yeah, I love that. It's community, finding that. And that's awesome. That's really, really important. You don't have to do it alone. There's people to help. And so that's really important. And Mike, how about for you? What would you say are some quick wins?
Well, when I think back on my own career, early in my career, a couple of things that I got our business off to a good start was networking. And networked with other, with agents, of course, as Robin has talked about, learning through others, but also just networking in the community of prospects and potential clients. Did a lot of charity work. I worked on a couple of organizations where we did some fundraising. So you started to network with various organizations, business leaders. You got, you built up your brand, you built up your name and reputation. And the networking, to this day, I still benefit from networking that I did 40 some odd years ago. Joined the Chamber of Commerce. I became a Rotarian. Joined a business club. There's lots of lunch and breakfast clubs. One club that I actually, along with a couple of other fellows, started was we called it our own brain trust, where we had young entrepreneurs getting together for breakfast every morning probably once a week we did that for years, where we just sort of acted as a bit of a crutch, a support system outside of the industry as well. So I think really the quick start for you is to start networking, network with agents, network with suppliers, network with tourist boards, find your niche, network within the niche, but also do a lot of social networking, just again, within your own community. Rotary's been huge for me over the years. I'm not a Rotarian anymore, unfortunately, because I'm too busy, but it really, really did get our jumpstart to our business, as well as all the charity work I did. So that would be my quick. You're also doing good. You're helping the community, but you're also helping your business.
Yeah. Win-wins. So they're not just quick wins, they're win-wins for lifelong time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good advice. And John, anything else that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, I think there's like two networking paths. I certainly agree with everything Mike just said in terms of being involved in the community. If it's at the Chamber of Commerce or any other clubs like Rotary and stuff, of course, you can be involved in your church or school, or anywhere where you're getting out in the community. And I know some agencies too, they'll, how sometimes local communities, maybe it's run by a newspaper or something, some other organization, where they'll say best in the valley, best travel agency in the Valley, I think agencies should enter into all of that. It's great PR to be able to put on your letterhead, advertising, and everything that you were just voted best at something. And then I think going down the path that Robin has brought up with not only mentorship, but being involved in the travel industry community. It's, whether it's your consortia or host agency, or whether it's ASTA, whether it's some kind of a travel industry organization too, you want to network there as well.
If I could just add one last thing to Stephanie, when I think back early in my career, one of the biggest wins we also had was escorting groups. Traveling with groups is really good, particularly in your niche, but if you can travel with these people, you'll develop personal relationships that will build forever. So you don't just get to know them through a business relationship, you develop a deeper relationship. And those have been huge for us over the years too. And often people will say on the group you're on, hey, where are we going next? Next year, that kind of thing. So that was really a big jumpstart for us.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that is a good one. We heard that a lot of successful advisors, they'll do those big groups. And I mean, you can do those easily with your networking. If you have your like a lunch club and you're like, who's interested in going on a trip together, because we can make this work.
Yeah.
So
and
I
travel
love that.
with them. Go with them.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Oh no, that's a really good point. I love that. And so all these really fun wins. It's always fun to think about, how can I get a quick win? But to be real, there might always be a mistake or two, but you get to learn from it. And that's a great thing. But what would you all say are the most common mistakes or just missteps that you see a new travel agent make? And Robin, I'll start with you on this one too.
Yeah, never assume. Never assume even your most experienced travelers know everything that they need to know. You need to walk them through every step, especially in today's, where we're at today after coming out of the pandemic. The world is changing all the time. So, I would go through every step of their trip with them beforehand, cross all your T's, dot all your I's, whatever supplier you're working with, make sure you understand, everything that they're going to provide and everything they're not going to provide. And, the resources while your travelers are traveling, make sure that they have after hour numbers and, insurance. And, again, just never assume even the most experienced travelers, because they don't. There's always something that comes up that they don't know.
That's a good point.
Biggest advice.
Yeah. That is a big one. Yes, that is a really, really important one there. And John, how about for you?
I think not having a plan. If you're, you can set annual goals and so forth, but I think you have to have a plan. It has to be a written plan, something that you can constantly refer back to. I think definitely having it in writing keeps you on track, or keeps you honest about it, so to speak, that you're going to follow through on things. So I think a lot of maybe some people wing it, but I think you have to plan for success.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Plan for success. That might be the motto of today. I like that. Yeah, that is good. It's catchy. And Mike, how about for you?
Those are both great ones, by the way. Robin talked about never assume, and I'd sort of jotted down a few thoughts just with this question as well. Don't, people who don't do the training, just following up on Robin's talking about, don't listen to others. They assume that they know better. They know better. They're not going to listen to anybody else, which I think really pigeontails with what Robin was saying. And I also like John's comment about no plans. Also, he touched on it, no goals, right? So if you've got no plans, you've got no goals, you've got no niche, I think that's really important. People who depend only on their friends and family, you're not going to, there's only so much travel you can sell friends and family. That's not good. But I also just add a couple of other quick things. One is that you have no focus, which I guess really goes back to no niche. But one I think is also critically important today. If you don't have fees, you need to have a service fee plan. You need to have a service fee program. And even if your plan is not to have a service fee, you need to have a plan. You need to give thoughts to this. And your service fee is not just to make more money, which you're absolutely entitled to because you're doing more work, but it also help you to weed out those people you don't want to work with. Because too many of my colleagues in the past, again, I've been doing this for over 40 years, we too many times took on people just because they called us, right? Somebody's calling us, I guess we got to look after them. No, you don't have to look after them. And a nice way to make sure that you either don't look after them, and a nice way is to introduce your service fee. And if you do look after them, making sure that every transaction you do is a profitable one. So I would just add service fees is a big one that people need to focus on.
Yes, that is huge. And actually, I was going to bring that up in this because we have to talk about service fees is huge. And especially we've been seeing it a lot more, just from the pandemic, and just a lot of that has been coming up. So this is actually a really good pivot. So we were talking about, the wins and the missteps, and, just always trying to stay ahead with more wins, obviously. But that also means staying up to date on industry trends and how can you put your best foot forward. So with service fees, that's one of them. So, but what are trends looking for, or looking like for new agents at your own host agency or consortia? And what are you seeing in the industry in general? And actually, Mike, I was going to go to you first because of service fees, but are there any other trends that you're seeing with your own, with the travel agents or in the industry?
Yeah, I guess, you might call it a trend, or you might call it just renewed focus, or maybe more focus. Absolutely, service fees is huge, not just for more income, which is absolutely the case, but also for making sure that agents are only focused on the business that they want to do, and not waste their time and energy on what this, the close ratio is going to improve a lot. We talked a couple of times already about a niche or a focus for your business. You may have more than one, but I think in order to really be good at your job in travel and to really deliver good value, particularly in a niche, particularly with some area of expertise, you need to have a focus for your business and niche. You can't be good at everything. And a niche could be a variety of things. It could be a geographic niche. It could be a demographic niche. It could be the kind of travel or the reason for travel niche. You can look at a niche from a variety of perspectives, but you do need to, I believe, at least you need to have a focus. You may not know it right away. It may take time, and you may have multiple niches, but that's huge. The other thing is branding. You really need to make sure you're branding yourself. There's huge opportunity today. There's so many agents who've retired, who've gone out of business, whatever. People are coming new to the industry. You have a huge opportunity, but you need to brand yourself as well and really focus on training. Training is huge. You cannot, you cannot go out and try to sell travel when your consumer knows more about the destination or the product than you do. That's not going to work very well. You're not going to get much of a feed, so you really need to focus on your training as well. And I think just more, there's this huge opportunity today. We're respected more. There's more opportunity for income. There's more opportunity for growth. I just think if you focus on these few fundamentals, your service fee, your niche, your branding, and your training, I think everything will fall into place.
Yeah, that's awesome. It all so important things in there. And Robin, how about for you? And another question too, kind of on that is, what are you seeing for the trends and stuff? But also, how can agents stay up to date? Are there resources that you know of that are very helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, talking about the trend and, with all the host agencies that are out there now, we are allowing our advisors to brand themselves, like Mike said. And it can be overwhelming to start, but like I said earlier, you really need to stop and make sure that you put your business plan in place. And I think John touched on setting goals and being accountable for your goals. And, if you don't have a partner, have a mentor, like I talked about earlier. I can't emphasize enough, have a mentor, share your business plan, keep on track. The fees need to be a part of that. And, value yourself. I think when, I remember in the 90s, you said earlier, you called us, I don't remember, but basically we're all old. We've been doing this a long time, right?
You're distinguished veterans.
Veterans, that's
not
it.
Old.
Yeah. Another way, we've all been in the business a long time and we've rode all the waves, right? But I remember in the 90s with the commission cuts of the airline tickets, and at the time I was a corporate agent, and I worked very hard. I serviced my clients. I was an excellent agent. but I didn't value myself or value what I was doing at the time. So, you know, I've seen a couple of questions come up. Where do you start with fees? How do you do that? What do you know? There's a lot of resources. ASTA is a great resource. I think, John, you said earlier, there's a lot of local chapters of ASTA. You know, my consortium and my host agency, we've got videos that we've done internally on fees, like where do you start? How do you start? When you're setting up your business plan, you need to protect yourself. You know, you need to make sure you have errors and omission insurance, and that you cover yourself when people cancel. You've done all the work 3 weeks before they cancel a trip, and you're going to be giving back, you know, all of your commission, you know, for, you know, that you, all the hard work. You want to have cancellation fees. If you're going to start somewhere, I'd say start there. You know, looking at, you know, what the customer is going to be covered with insurance, because you're always going to take care, they're going to be covered. You're going to make sure you should, you know, sell a third-party insurance so they're not out. But what about you? Cover yourself so you're not out for all the work you've done. You know, sometimes we're planning trips 18 months, 24 months in advance. You're working, and then it gets to the last minute and they cancel. You've done a lot of work. So I would say start there. You know, start with the business plan, and part of your plan needs to be, you know, making sure that you value yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, really. I know in the legal stuff, I mean, we could have a whole other hour talking about all that stuff. So that's also very important. Something we've definitely learned in the past few years as well. And John, how about for you too? Is there any, you know, trends that you're seeing with MAST or with new agents?
Well, I am a big proponent of brand identity. You know, Mike mentioned about developing your brand, and I'm a strong believer in branding. You know, it's something that your customers can identify with, and it gives them, again, confidence. I mentioned confidence early on in the conversation, and I think that they look at that, they can count on you to deliver a certain level of service time and time again. And it might be just, again, how you respond to them, if you're timely in your response, if you're, you know, the kinds of details that you provide the service to them, and so forth. And I think it then ultimately leads to the ability to charge fees for service. And, you know, agencies might do anything from, of course, charging for a certain type of service that they're delivering, a certain type of transaction. Sometimes they're marking up a package, or just charging a planning fee. Some agencies are, you know, of course, are doing retainers. They might charge by the hour. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can do this. And as Mike said, you have to charge something. You're worth it, and you're doing a lot more work today than ever before. But I think branding helps you establish that with your customers, and they understand why they're paying you for the service you're delivering.
Yeah. And again, this is you're all giving me such good pivots on this. And it makes it so easy, because we've had lots of questions come in, because I knew when we started talking about service fees, planning fees, it's huge. But it's also like, where do you start? So I'm going to start. This is going to be my intro into starting to get a lot of these audience questions answered in here. So it's going to be a little popcorny here. We're just going to kind of take it random, and feel free, anyone can take it. But I want to start with the service fees, because we're on that topic. But someone had asked, do you have a suggestion for resources on service fees? And they said this is something we were talking about at my agency. We're trying to figure out what our service fee structure should look like, because there's many different ways that you could do it. So how do you start that? Like, where can you find research on what can work for you?
Well, I would say come to us, the host agencies. I have an outline. If you're a corporate agent or a leisure agent, you know, we have in-house agents. You know, I can help with, you know, what we're doing. And like I said earlier, ASTA is a great resource. They've done educational webinars that are recorded on it. TMR, I mean, there's just a wealth of resources out in the industry. I think, John, you said earlier, know your industry, know the different resources that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just building on that, absolutely the case. You want to do as much research as you want, but you also need to understand that everybody's fees are their own personal fees. You need to find a fit for you and your business, which means you need to understand your goals. You need to understand what role the service fee is going to play in your business. You know, Robin talked about cancellation. One purpose of his fee is to make sure you're getting money when somebody cancels. Another purpose of your fee, I've seen in some of the questions here, is a plan to go deposit. Somebody who's going to say to you, here's some money up front. Please have a look at my booking, or, you know, do all the research. If I go with you, you're going to, you know, the money's going to go towards the cost of the trip. But if I don't book with you, you're going to keep the money, right? I mean, that's kind of how a plan to go fits. But a real fee means that you're charging a fee for everything you do. You might have an all-in fee, you might have a per hour fee, you might have a retainer fee, whatever the fee might be, but understand your goals as well, because a fee can be used for a few things. One, it can be used to get rid of tire kickers. Two, it can be used to supplement your income because you're getting less revenue from commissions. Two, it can just be a fee for the added value you're doing. If you're a destination wedding expert, you should be getting money for all the stuff you're doing besides just booking the hotel and stuff. So it's just money for all of your work. But it can also be used, again, just to reduce the number of tire kickers you deal with. Those people that call you up looking to confirm a price that their regular travel agent's given them, or, you know, you've got 10 people going away in a small group and each one of them are calling a travel agent to see who gets the best. You don't want any part of that. You don't want to have anything to do with that stuff. So having a plan to go fee or a service fee of some sort is going to weed out those people so you can focus your attention and all of your energy on the people who really do want to buy from you. So know your goals with your fee. Make sure you're applying them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the plan to go. I like
Absolutely.
that's smart.
I've even proposed.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to add along the same lines that Mike and Robin were talking about. You know, you don't have to just come up with a number and see what sticks out there. Like, you know, try it and see if your customers are willing to pay it. I've always proposed that you take a look at your business, how much money you think you should be making per hour that you're working, and maybe it's because if you have a storefront agency and you have those expenses that go with it, you want to know, that your expenses are going to be covered. So I think you have to do some math calculations. I would recommend doing some calculations to see what you think your time is worth, not only to cover your expenses, but to again, pay for your time. So I think it's worth it just doing some calculations and taking a look at what you think your business is worth.
I just wanted to jump in. Sorry, Stephanie, because John just tweaked something in my mind as well. We host, I host a service fee call every 2 weeks that I actually host myself with all of our members that want to join us. And just yesterday, we talked about a couple of quick things. One was that your service fee needs to equal your value, and your value needs to equal your service fee. You can't be somebody who's new to the industry, doesn't know a whole lot about a niche, and charge a whole lot of fee for it. People were going to see, I mean, if they ask you to book a trip to India and you have to ask them where India is on a map, you can't get much of a fee from that. You need to understand, your value has to equal your fee and your fees to equal your value. And the other thing that I thought was really, really good, I found this quote, I can't take credit for it, but if somebody complains about your fee and then buys from you, your fee is perfect. If they complain about it and then buy from you, it's perfect. But you can't use somebody else's fee, right? Just because Robin is charging $50 doesn't mean that Mike can charge $50. If I don't know as much about Robin, or I'm not as good as Robin, I shouldn't be charging as much as Robin. On the other hand, if I'm a real expert in whatever it is, I should be able to charge 100. So your fee needs to equal your value, and your value needs to equal your fee, but you can't use somebody else's value to come up with your own fee.
Good. Very good.
Yeah, that's really important because of how we're talking about, go research, check it out, but it also, and the thing I know that we've talked about before on other webinars too, is a lot of times once they introduce a fee or a higher fee and you already have clients that haven't done that before, getting that system. So not to be afraid that that fee's not going to stay the same. Possibly it might change, and having that, lots of people do that in the industry. I know it was a big one.
And Stephanie, I can add an example, a further example to that. Sometimes I see agencies that when they are friendly with other agencies in their area or their network, sometimes they will trade off types of trips. A recent example that came to my attention is one agency had customers, this was just, it's a trip to Disney World, and you would think, okay, well, most any travel advisor should be able to put a trip to Disney World together, but these particular customers were asking so many specific questions and really wanted a very detailed trip. And they felt like, well, this particular agency felt, well, I could charge a fee for that, or maybe I'm going to refer them to my friend who in another agency that is really an expert at Disney World, and the fee that she will charge will be well worth it to those customers than what I could do for them. So they actually traded off that client. And so I think you're going to see more of that too.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. Yeah, you will, especially as, the more you get the niche and, that, and it's just going to make more sense. And so, yeah, that's a good example, a good point there. Well, before I move any further from service fees, because I know, again, it's such a hot topic, is there anything else that we haven't covered on service fees?
I saw in one of the questions in the Q&A, somebody asking about a cancellation penalty, and they asked how much. My suggestion would be, if the supplier is asking a cancellation penalty, you should ask for the same cancellation penalty. I just mirror what the supplier does. Obviously, when it gets to 100% cancellation, you can't have 200% cancellation. But I mean, if it's a $100 non-refundable deposit for the supplier, make it a $200 non-refundable deposit, 100 for the supplier, 100 for you. That's maybe a good place to start. Mm-hmm. But if you're gonna, and one person says, I've got some recent trips with a big, great commissions, but then they canceled. That's why you have a cancellation fee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for getting those. I totally missed that one. This is perfect. And yeah, it is. There's so much. And again, we've already been saying this, but just over the past few years, I mean, it's really shown how important it is to have a fee for your services and all that. So very, very important there. So another question this is going to one of the first questions that we had earlier on when we were talking about how to build your network. So we might have already touched on this, but if there's anything we didn't touch, please fill or add that in. But Bob had asked, what's the best way to build your client base early on? I said, feel like I've peaked in my network already.
I would personally suggest some of those networking opportunities you spoke of, networking clubs, Rotary, Kiwanis, there's all kinds of organizations out there. Chamber of Commerce is a great place to go. I think also connecting with other companies, other businesses that may be in the same kind of sphere as you. So for example, years ago, we worked with a company in town who does travel books, travel gear, travel equipment. And we started to do shows with them together. So they had the stuff, luggage and maps and books and all that travel related. And we, of course, had the travel expertise. We also did speaker series, the local library, maybe some of the seniors' homes where they want to get in guest speakers. Those are all ways that you can just network within your community. That'll help you to build your database. Do a contest, get involved with draws. You can get names and that kind of thing. But you can build up your database using some creative ways like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I touched on it earlier too, is, let people know what you're doing, be excited, share your passion, you get your haircut, you go to the grocery store, you go to the bank, let people know what you're doing, talk about it. You're doing business with them, they should do business with you, just
exactly
work the people that you are a community with already, you don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And ask for referrals. That's one of the things that I think we really need to make sure. You're asking your happy clients for referrals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And social media, I know a lot of our advisors are using social media. They're, again, sharing their experiences, their travelers, their clients' experiences. And, you know, people want to be around people that are doing fun things. And, you know, so use your social media.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh,
my
mine
watch.
does that too. Mine does that too. I thought it was mine. Like, oh no.
It never works when you want it to.
No. It's literally every time, like when I'm doing a webinar and that happens, I'm like, ah, it kind of jolts you. It's scary. I know.
Stop.
And so, yeah, the social media is a really big one. And do any of you have, I always love asking this question, is do any of you have any like successful stories of what you've seen travel advisors doing on like social media and that's really helped them?
I think the experience reels are really cool now. You know, they're short snippets, but they draw people in, and so they're having a lot of success with that, with the reels and snapshots of where they're at and what they're doing. And, you know, again, sharing when you're out and you're looking at hotels or you're looking at new cruise ships, you know, that's what people want to know. They want to see what you're doing, what you think is cool, and sharing your experiences. And I think social media is the best way to do it these days.
Oh yeah.
One story I can think of is during the beginning of the pandemic, when nobody was traveling, we had a couple of agents who were traveling. They were visiting any hotel or cruise ship that would let them on. They took videos of everything and they shared it all on the internet, you know, through social media with anybody who wanted to live vicariously through them because nobody was traveling.
Right.
And also they started to build up a bit of a following of people who are getting ready to travel, right? I can't wait to travel again. I see there's people traveling. How are they doing it? So they created a following and their business has just taken off like crazy because they had been traveling during the pandemic. They knew how people could travel during the pandemic. They showed them how they could travel and they got a following of people who just said, these guys know what they're doing. So, you know, we can't turn back the clock, but if I could, that's something I would do if I was an agent. I would get out and visit any hotel and resort and cruise ship I could and just tell the world about it.
Yeah. Another thing I've seen travel advisors do too while traveling is they'll, especially when they build up that following, as Mike just mentioned, they'll say, join me on my, I'm going to broadcast live from the beach in Jamaica or something tomorrow and watch, watch my broadcast and I'll give you a tour of the resort. And that seems to work well, very well too.
Yeah. And you know what I love about all those is it's free. Like, so using social media is free. And so, yeah, really, really cool. And that's a good point too. I saw a lot of, those who are doing really well because they were traveling during time, but there still is that. I mean, there's still so many questions, you know, countries changing things or the rules, or do I need to upload this or that? Like what is needed? So still very reliable. Great ideas that you could do literally right now too. And another question that came in, this is going back to our previous conversation about like referring people. But someone had asked, because I've seen this question a lot before, is what about referral gifts? Like giving your clients some kind of referral bonus or a gift card. Do they really work? I've seen both sides of it. So what would you all say?
I think a referral fee is great, and I would do it off of their next trip. So give them, you know, if they refer somebody, give them $100 off their next trip because they're going to bring it in and spend it with you. You know, something like that I think works well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Everybody likes a thank you, but what better thank you than something that leads to another piece of business, Robin?
Exactly.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea because it helps them. It gives them something, but it also gives you a little bit, like you have to keep coming back. So I really like that. So I know there's still some questions here. I don't know if we have as much time for them, but here's one. I'll throw this one out there is, someone had asked, I'm looking for processes and procedures to make certain that I'm covering every detail. So again, that is really important when you're a new advisor. You know, there's a lot of things you might not be thinking about until you learn the lesson and then it's too late. So hopefully, you know, you can know ahead of time. So what are those, what are some good suggestions to get those resources or understand so you don't miss a thing?
I think, I mean, as a host agency, I would say start with me. You know, we have a lot of tools and resources that we share with our advisors that they can use. I just heard a new thing this morning, Teak. So Jennifer and Robin, fantastic. I spoke with Jennifer this morning. She was on a webinar I participated in. They've got some fine tuning things that you can do to set your business up with SOPs and, you know, the legal things that we talked about, using Travify, using Client Base, using Travel Joy. I mean, you know, something like that, they'll help you go from A all the way to Z with your business. I don't know a lot about them, but they piqued my interest, and I'm a veteran. So, you know, this morning, and then, yeah, your host consortiums, ASTA, you know, all those resources, use them.
Yeah, I have to say too, Robin was on our webinar earlier. So she was on, so it's super funny. Yeah. So that's
first
really
time
funny.
I heard about it, and it seems like fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super awesome. But yep, that's really awesome. I just had to throw that in because I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I know it's so funny whenever you leave it open.
Silence.
Like, who's it going? Where's it going? I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. But yeah, it's really awesome stuff. And I know we're coming up here on time. This was like the fastest hour of all time because that went really quick. It's when you're having fun, just is so good. But this has been amazing. But before we go though, is there anything else that you would say? Like, I know we kind of already touched on this, but I did see a question, which is actually a really good one to end with, is what is the, let me say it word for word here. Okay, well now I can't find it, but maybe, basically, what is the number one thing that people can do? They are starting right now. What is the number one thing? And then any final thoughts to throw onto that for each of you?
Well, I'll start. I think, you know, there's just such a, the general trends for new agents and in trying to get more professionals to come into the business. It's just travel advisors are greatly needed. It's rapidly growing again as the travel advisor industry coming out of the pandemic. There's high consumer demand for a professional travel advisor, but suppliers are also counting on us as well to help grow their business. And there's, the high value customer, the high margin customer, those customers are using travel advisors. So the value that we bring to suppliers is tremendous. And I think all of our suppliers want to see travel advisors to be successful, and they are looking for the industry to grow because it will help them grow.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go next. So talking about suppliers, and I have this jotted down, is your host agency or consortium, they vet a large number of suppliers. So use your preferred suppliers. You know, we do supplier trainings several times a week. Virtuoso does, know your preferred suppliers because they have been vetted. And they are the ones that, our other advisors are using. So they can help you with that. You want to use somebody that you know or your host or consortium knows. And then there were a couple other questions. TEAK is TEAK. That was one that popped up. And then referrals, we talked about referring to other agents. So I'll end with that. And we introduce other advisors to each other, but we don't get involved in what they charge each other or fees if they're covering for each other. But I think, if you have two like-minded advisors, if they're high air producers or high cruise producers or FITs, you want to find somebody who is doing the same type of business that you're doing. And then if you're, backing each other up or sending each other referrals, it'll be really easy to find a fair split. But definitely if you're handing something off, you should expect to share with each other.
So I guess my parting comments would be that know what your travel business is meant to be in your life. You want to have goals for yourself, goals for your business, know what your business's role is going to be in your life as an independent contractor, as I understand many of the people on the call are. Understand what this business is going to do in your life. Is it for income? Is it for lifestyle? Is it for travel? Is it for combination? But know what your goals are and then plan your business around that. If your goals are around income, have income goals. And make sure that as you start to plan your business, it's what John was saying earlier. I think you need to have a plan, a business plan, a marketing plan, a training plan, and that all needs to be focused around your niche. So come up with a niche and make sure that your training, your networking, your budgeting, your marketing, everything is around that niche or niches. You could have more than one as well. And just get out there and market yourself. It doesn't have to be expensive. A lot of the marketing is free, but it just takes time and energy. And I think you just really need to make sure you're focused on it. I'll go back to the word I used at the beginning, grit, right? You've got the passion, your perseverance, and you're going to focus on it. So that would be my recommendation. Have a plan, have a niche, and build around it. Don't just come into work and answer the phone. Make sure you understand what you're looking to do each day, and make sure you're building towards that goal for your business. And talk to your host. Talk to ASTA. In Canada, we have ACTA. Our version of ASTA. These organizations can help you as well.
Yeah, that's
and have fun. It's a great industry. Have fun.
Yes. It is an amazing fun industry and it's just growing. I literally ended the last webinar talking about this too, because it's just incredible how much travel industry is growing, how much people see the value of a travel advisor from the past few years, and it's only going to be getting even more booming. So it's awesome. Great time to enter.
We're coming into the golden years of the travel agent. I believe that this is coming. We're coming into the golden years for travel agents. Mm-hmm. This 43-year history I've had so far, and others in the panel, this is just the warm-up.
I love that. Yes, that is so awesome. And if this doesn't excite everybody, I don't know what will. This is so cool. And I know we have our work cut out ahead of us. So make sure to join us for the next webinar, because we'll be talking about marketing and we can ask those questions. I know this sparked a lot of ideas and some questions for people. So we'll be sure to keep talking about those. And thank you so much again for our panelists, Mike, John, Robin. This has been so cool. And we're just so thankful for your time today to help answer these questions and give us motivation and advice. It's awesome. So just want to thank you once again. And thank you everybody for joining us as well. Again, quickest hour of all time. Hope you learned a lot and had a great time. But thanks again, everyone. And thank you for our panelists for joining us.